Now this government censorship pertains to pretty much everybody in every country, including the so free America. Now, censorship is basically everywhere. We already know that in authoritarian countries, people can't speak freely about certain topics, or government people or whatever. And that is a given. We know that's the way that that works. But we in the West are always priding ourselves on how free and democratic we are, and how we hold values of freedom so high, and the Constitution, and whatever the fuck else, And we preach this whole shit, but actually, as you know, if you've been listening to any of these videos at all, you know that actually, no matter if you're in a Western country or an autocratic country or a dictatorship, you're not free. Because as an adult, you should be able to say whatever the fuck you want to whoever the fuck you want, whenever the fuck you want, and the government can't do shit about it, right? That's freedom, right? In this context. Now, there's a whole, even if you had actual free speech in any one of these Western countries, whether it be America or Germany where I live, or any European country, the actual free speech really doesn't exist. It did for a long time in America. It doesn't anymore, and hasn't since COVID, right? If you actually had that, there would be 1,000 other reasons why still you are not free, because you're still being ruled over, just not by a king or an autocrat. No, you're ruled over by a whole group of incompetent fucking morons that can't get shit done in this system, apparently, right? And look, I was given democracy and republics and the whole shit, the political thing. I was given it a chance. I've given it a chance since Trump came on the scene in 2014. And now that Trump has been such an horrifying disappointment that even he cannot get the things, or will not get the things done that need to be done in order to restore the kind of freedom and democracy that needs to be restored in America. It's just not happening. So, and the reason for that is the system is fucked. The system is fucked. And if you're out there talking about how free you are, well, just look at this. If you can't speak as an adult, if you can't say words without either permission from the government or getting some sort of punishment by the government, right? You're not a free fucking adult. You're basically an adult child. You're being treated like a child. Like, children can't curse, right? And children have to respect adults. There's certain things that children don't talk about or bring up, even if they saw it on TV or something like that, right? You can censor a child because they're your child, right? And in school, for example, things may be inappropriate, so the teachers can censor the children. But I'm not a fucking child. And so it's crazy to me that adults can be censored by the government, who we adults pay for its existence. So actually the situation should be the other way around, that we get to tell the government the things they're allowed to talk about, vote on, discuss, engage in. Not the other way around, right? It's not like my boss pays my salary, but I get to tell him what the fuck to do, right? It's not how that works, right? The government is a service that we are paying for, and they're treating us like we're servants of theirs, to be ruled over and to be told as adults what we can and cannot say, which is insane. And if you guys look, we all know that Europe and the European Union, that they are very censorious. Here in Germany, there are certain phrases you can't say in German. I can say them in English, right? I can say it. This is how crazy it is, right? I can say, as a politician, I can get up on stage and say everything for Germany. Meaning, I'll give everything for the country. I'm a politician, But if I'm a German politician, or I am a politician, and I say the words everything for Germany in German, that's illegal. And a politician here got fined like 13,000 euro for using that phrase. And so that's illegal to use that phrase, even as a politician. And the reason why is, well, because it was a Hitler saying. He said that. Well, if you're going to measure by that stick, people can't speak German anymore because Hitler said everything he said in fucking German because he was Austrian and they speak German there. And so that's crazy, huh? You know what I mean? That's how insane it is here. But if you think you're exempt in America, you're wrong. You're wrong. Because we all know that during the Biden administration, people were censored off the internet for COVID shit, and then other political stuff pertaining to Democrats or Donald Trump or whatever. You know, people were censored all the time. And I know that liberals and leftists and these fucking people that live on CNN bubbles and shit don't realize that. But I don't care about those fucking people. You people who I'm talking to probably know about that. So you were censored then in America, right? And then you guys thought, well, you know, we're just going to have to vote in Donald Trump because he's about freedom. And so you do that, right? Which I was all for, by the way. I still think Trump is better than Kamala Harris. Don't get me wrong, okay? But that's not really that high of a bar. Basically, a dog's dick would be better than Kamala Harris, okay? So it's not really that big of an achievement, but okay. Right? Y'all thought by electing Trump, you would reverse this massive censorship bullshit going on in America, the country that prides itself on being the only country that actually has freedom of speech. And it did. And then during COVID, and when Biden was in office, people were getting censored all the fucking time. Now Trump's in office, and now people aren't getting censored anymore for that. But now they're getting censored for other things by the government. So the government, this government, the Trump government, the regime of Trump, doesn't like it when people criticize Israel, right? They don't like that. So people are being censored when they criticize Israel. I know that you can say all day it's not happening, blah, blah, blah. Look, the government in America under Trump even tried to go so far as to throw people in America on a legal visa, a student visa, tried to throw people out of the country on a legal student visa because they had criticism of Israel or supported Palestinians, which is nuts, right? Which is nuts, because actually the deal kind of is, if you get a visa to go to school, you kind of enjoy the same rights as actual Americans do, right? You also have freedom of speech. I know Marco Rubio is trying to tell y'all motherfuckers that that's not true, that you're there as a guest and you have to, you know, act accordingly, but you don't have the same rights as a guest as an American does. Well, as far as freedom of speech is concerned, I think that's pretty much the consensus, that before the Trump administration, that was kind of the deal, right? So what the Trump administration is saying is, if we don't like what you say, or we don't like what you support, whether you're a green card holder, a permanent resident, anything other than a citizen of the United States, we reserve the right to retroactively revoke your visa based on something you said, or an article you wrote, or what's it called? Or something you said on Twitter or whatever, you know? And they're doing it. Now, is it en masse? No. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these people, if they fight it, they win their court cases. Because even though the judicial system in America is completely corrupted, it just happens to be that in this case, the judicial system favors immigrants over Americans, and hates Trump. So they vote against him, and they rule against him in these situations. So a lot of people that are getting their visas revoked based on speech are winning their cases and being able to remain in America. But it's crazy that you have to spend the money, the time, the effort, and the irritation to fight something like that, when actually you're guaranteed the right to free speech, actually, as a visa holder in America. It's crazy, this new way of looking at the freedom of speech laws. So in America, you're also getting censored, right? Now look, I get it. There's a social cost sometimes to things that you say. People might not like you if you say something that pisses somebody off enough, and they can beat you. You might get beaten up. You might have to fist fight somebody because of something you say. But in the end, those people can't force you to shut up, right? And if they try with violence, actually, the government is there to protect you from them. Okay? So it's totally warped, right? It's totally warped. Yes, you can have social consequences for if somebody I don't know calls me a dildo, and I don't, just out of nowhere, I'm gonna go the fuck off, right? And if they escalate, I might end up hitting them. You know what I'm saying? If they fuck off, they might get lucky. If they escalate, I might hit them. But that's a social consequence. I can't take away this guy's bank account. I can't take away his job. I can't put him in jail. I can't fine him. You know what I'm saying? They would be crazy if that was the case, but that's not. And I don't think the government should be able to do that kind of shit either, right? Not about speech. I'm an adult. I'll say what the fuck I want to whoever the fuck I want, when the fuck I want. Because I want to be free. I don't want another set of parents ruling over me, like my parents did when I was little. I'm not little. I don't want that. And I don't feel like a free person, and neither should you, if there's any way the government can censor you. And unfortunately, the government can censor you in every one of these Western countries that proclaims freedom and says how democratic they are and how the values are. I said this at the beginning. I'm repeating myself. And another case in America, the Shiloh Hendricks case. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, right? I don't know if you guys know this, but this case, a lot of people do know about it, but many people don't, right? So this lady Shiloh Hendricks is at a fucking playground, and a little black kid steals something out of her purse. I think it was an apple juice or something. And she freaks out and calls the little kid a nigger, right? Now, she can do that because the chance that a man or the parent of this kid is going to beat her ass is very small, right? But she's obviously willing to take that risk. She's an adult. She's allowed to take that risk. So, would I have said it to a little kid? No, probably not. But I'm not in her shoes. I don't know how irritated she was. I don't know how many times this kid had fucked with her stuff. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So now another guy's filming her and taunts her and goads her into saying it again. Say it again, say it again. And so she says it to him. He was a Somalian guy that got charges dropped on him for being some sort of child rapist. Crazy enough, right? Right? And so this case actually went to court, right? And Shiloh Hendricks was charged criminally with disorderly conduct or something like that in order for her to have to pay a fine. She's 90 days probation or something like that. Either way, I don't care how harsh or not harsh the punishment was. The fact that this woman in America can be brought up on criminal charges for using the word nigger is crazy. Not in America, right? Not in America. Now, if it would have been a black mom that was at the playground and this white bitch called her kid the N-word, I'm sure the black mom would have whooped her ass. But that's the way those things are settled, right? The government can't put you in jail or take you to court for using a fucking word. That's bonkers. That's fucking stupid. Okay? That's crazy. That's crazy. But it's happening in the freest country in the world, where free speech is top of the Constitution. It's the First Amendment. It's what we all follow, or all this blah blah that I keep fucking hearing, and I've heard all my life, and it turns out to not be true at all. And so that's it. Even Americans aren't free. And you can say all you want about, well, that's just one case. It's only one case. The Shiloh Hendricks thing, that's a case. It's only one. I mean, that's not happening to me. Yeah, and that's the problem. All y'all motherfuckers are like, well, it's not happening to me, so it's not real. Look, one case is bad enough. I mean, compare this one case to all the preaching and fucking belly aching y'all do about the Constitution and your freedoms and how free you are and how it's the freest country in the whole fucking world. America, yay! You know, Constitution, blah, blah, blah. So, the revolution, yeah, we freed ourselves from England. We're so free. Democracy, fucking freedom of speech, blah, blah, blah. All of that. And then you still got somebody being brought up on charges for using a fucking word, which is bonkers. So, you're not free either. None of us are. And that's the standpoint we have to start coming from, is we have to start accepting we're not free enough. We're being ruled over by not one tyrant in the form of a king, but by a bunch of little fucking incompetent tyrants in the form of a so-called representative democracy, which we have here in Germany, you have in America, it's the same system. You know, there's some different rules in it, parliamentary, blah, blah, blah. There's some differences, but it's still a representative democracy, right? All you get as a citizen is you get to vote for a bunch of people to do something they promise you they're going to do. They never fucking do it, and you have to shut the fuck up the rest of the years, right? That's it. So that's not freedom, people. That's not fucking any kind of democracy. It's not a government by the people, for the people. Get that shit out of your heads. Because we have to start acting. If we want anything to change, if we want to ever be free, like really free, we can't stay in the mindset of how free we are and then say that, well, we want to be free. You have to understand you're not free. So I don't know how many times I'm going to have to say it. But I'm going to keep putting out these videos. I'm going to keep giving you all reason after reason after reason to realize you're not fucking free at all. Okay? You're freer than other places. You're not free. And that's that.